Hey everybody, Jace Allen here. Welcome back to the channel. So this is part 2 of the Stratocaster CNC tutorial using Aspire and Fusion 360. So let's get right to it. Okay, if you recall, we left off where we had all the lines in and we haven't done any tool paths yet, and we're just getting ready to do the 3D contours for the arm cutout and the belly cutout. So go ahead and pull up your file in Aspire because you're going to need the outline of the guitar itself. And then we're also going to be using Autodesk Fusion 360. This is a 3D design program. I find it to be a lot easier to use than, say, Blender 3D. Blender 3D seems to be more for like movie special effects and animation and things like that, where this is more of a 3D CAD type program where you're designing components and parts and things like that. And so I found it to be quite a bit easier to model a guitar in this than I did in Blender. This is also freely available. It's you got to sign up for it and everything so you can log in. Then you download the program. It's free for non-commercial use. It doesn't really lack any of the functionality that we will use in the free version. There are a few things that you can't do in it. One, you can't export DXF files or things like that, which that's kind of a drag. But other than that, everything works on it. You can import SVG, DXF, Adobe Illustrator files. You can import images like PNG files and things like that. And you can export the STL file, which is exactly what we're going to need to import into Aspire. So let's get started here. I've opened Fusion 360 already. I'm going to come over here to this is your little sort of world view, and we're going to go to top. So we want it top view and then rotate it around so that the word top is readable. And so now we're going to go back into Aspire and we're going to grab this here and that. So these two lines, the body outline and this arm contour. If you want, you can do the belly cutout as well. That we'd have to push to the front. So why don't we do that real quick? We'll actually copy this to the other side. And so we'll grab all these. So we have a reference for the belly cutout as well. So now we will go to export, and we're going to use SVG. If you use DXF, it breaks it up into such little pieces that you've got all these points. And so it really slows down the performance of Fusion, where the SVG file has fewer points, fewer arcs and lines and things like that, but it comes in as a short scale. I mean, for some reason it's not one-to-one scale, but I figured out the scale factor on it so we can import it into Fusion with no problem and make it the correct size. So go ahead and save that SVG file somewhere where you will remember where it's at, and then come back into Fusion, go to Insert, Insert SVG, Insert from My Computer, grab your SVG file, hit Open, and then you want to make sure you're in top down mode, and the word top is, you know, horizontal and readable. It's upright, it's not to the side or upside down. And then you want to click on this plane here because that's where it's going to plop in your drawing. And then if you zoom in with your mouse wheel, you can see it. So then come over here, before you do anything else, come over here where it says Scale Plane XY. Highlight that and type in 96.03 and hit Enter. And then that resizes it to the correct size. And then if you'll notice, this sketch is locked and you want to unlock it. So you want to click on this constraints and then select it, and then see now it changes to an edit pencil there, little icon, then hit OK. If you right click, it brings up this window, and that's where you can hit OK. So now you should be able to edit, and what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate these corners because the radiuses on those corners are too small. I think they're 3/16 of an inch. And so that 1/2 inch radius sweep can't navigate that corner for some reason. And that'll make sense here in a minute. And so you delete that corner, delete this corner, come down here, and see how that turns into a point. That allows you to drag. So you just move it past this line and then grab this line and bring it over till it touches. And if you want to make this cleaner, you can move that so that there's a sharp corner there. And don't worry about, like, if this isn't completely in line with where it was. I mean, none of this really matters because you're not grabbing any of that. We're just doing this as kind of some housekeeping because it's going to make things a lot easier when we go to put the outline around. So now if you click on this and then right click on it and hit delete coincidence, you should be able to edit this now too. No, for some reason it's not letting me. That's the one thing about this program. There's quite a learning curve to it, and it's not exactly easy to use if you're just trying to figure out some simple things. Like, I don't know why I can't move that point. So really all we want to do is join to here. So let's just use a straight line, and you'll be able to snap and then right click and hit OK. So you can see that line now. So now we have a square, basically a squared off neck pocket. And so you can hit finish sketch, and then you select this whole thing and then go to solid extrude, and you want 1.75 because that's the thickness of your body. And if you come over here to this and grab it and rotate it around, you'll be able to see the body. Okay, so now you want to draw your line across here. So turn on that sketch, make sure that sketch is visible so you can see that line underneath. And then you want to start a new sketch by clicking here. And then you want to click on the body because that's going to allow you to sketch on that plane. Then you want to come over here to solid, to line. Zoom in until you can see this line. See, it doesn't reach, so you want to click pretty much, oops, where'd it go? There it is. You want to pretty much follow where that would be, which is about right there. And then you want to drag it over so that it's in line with that arm contour from your Aspire files. Then hit OK. Okay, so now you can see this has been separated. So now you want to create your arm contour. So hit finish sketch, click on this. Oh, sorry, you don't have to click on that. Go to construct, plane along path, and then click on this line. And then see it draws a plane, and you want to move that so it's right about in the middle. It'll even snap to the center. Hit OK. Come over here and kind of move this a little bit so you can see that plane, and then come back to create sketch, click on this plane, see how it turns light colored, click on that. It rotates it around for some reason. You don't really want that, so just kind of move it so that you can see the top, the middle point here, and then you can kind of see this edge because that's where this line is going to come out. So now you want to come over here, line, click in the middle there so it turns into a blue box, and then bring it out, and you can see it coming out of the middle of that side of the guitar. So now hit enter, and you can see it right there. That's about where it's going to be at. That's a little low, so or a little high rather. Let's move it so it's not quite in the middle of the body, but that's probably good there. And hit finish sketch. Come back to the top. Actually, you can angle it a little bit so you can see what you're doing. And then click on this section here. Go to create, sweep, and then over here where it says path, click on that, select, and then select this line. And then you want to make sure the operation is cut. Orientation is perpendicular. All that stuff should be default. And then hit OK. And as you can see, it cut out the arm contour. So go back to the top. Okay. So now what you want to do is create your half-inch. There's a half-inch radius around this whole thing. And then this is curved too. If you'll notice right now, that's a sharp angle. So we're going to put a curve on that as well. So go back to the top. Come over to sheet metal. Under sheet metal, there's this thing called fillet. And then you want to grab, let's start right about here. You want to grab these outside edges. See how they kind of highlight? You want to grab these and make sure you zoom in so you don't miss anything, because you want them all to be contiguous. Okay, so now let's try it and see. So we want to, over here where it says tangent G1, you want to pull this drop down and go to curvature. You want to unselect tangent chain, and you want to go corner type setback. And now there's a little window here. You can, and it moves around a lot. Sometimes you can't see it, but you can always enter it in here too. And you want to make it 0.5. Okay, so it's already throwing an error up. So go ahead and click on that red. Click on that to unselect them. Okay, so now it drew the half-inch radius. And you don't need it to be in here because we're not even going to use that. We're going to do the actual half-inch radius in Aspire. Really all we're interested in is this half-inch radius here and the arm cutout. So go ahead and hit OK. Come over here. See how that line turns blue? Click on that. Click fillet again. And then see your little... Oh, okay, so you have to click onto it now. For some reason it unselected it. So click on that middle line. And then here you want to probably put in 6, maybe. That looks pretty good. You can move it around to see. See how it's nice and curved now? It's not a straight angle. So there we go. Okay, so there's the top. So that's the arm cutout, and we don't, we're only going to use this information here in Aspire, and you'll see that. Okay, so now click these little arrows to get to the back. And so now we're going to do something similar. So create a sketch, come over here, create a sketch, click on the back, because you're going to draw on that plane on the back. You want to click this center diameter circle, and this is about I think it's about a 15 or 16 inch circle diameter. So let's do 15.5. See if that's, whoops. See if that's good. That's pretty good. So you want to put it where that line is, because that came off of our drawing in Aspire. So now you want to finish sketch. You want to select, you want to go to construct again, path, plane along path. You want to click on the circle, and then you want to move this until it's right about in the middle. Right about there is good. Then hit OK. And then now you select the circle, go to create sweep. Oh, no, sorry, I got ahead of myself here. We want to draw our line first. So angle this over, go to create sketch, click on this plane, see how it turns from yellow to white. And it's going to rotate it around. I don't know why it does that, but. And then you're going to want to go up here to line, click on this center point until the little blue box appears. So click on that and then drag the line over. See how it comes out of the side of the guitar there? And then just hit enter. Now move this around. Okay, so that's not coming out of the side. So go, there we go. Go to left, and then grab it and move it over. So it's coming out the side. And then you want to rotate. Oh, actually, whoops, we're at the top. We want to be at the bottom. There we go. So that looks pretty good, but it's not up far enough, so you want to move it up. So it's coming out right about there, because that'll be sort of the peak of your cutout. That looks pretty good. Not quite halfway. Finish sketch. Now you click on the circle. Now you do create, now you do sweep. Now you go to path, select, and then select this line. And something terrible happened here. Something went wrong. Okay, hold on. Oops. Somehow I got the whole body selected. You want just this circle. So, okay, now create, sweep, path, select that. There we go. Now hit OK. And now if you move it around, you'll see that belly contour has been cut out. Okay, so we want to go back to the bottom view, and then we want to see if we can make our 1/2 inch radius here. If you want to, you can turn that sketch off. Okay, so now go back to your fillet and then start grabbing these lines along that outside edge, and make sure you zoom in, because you want to make sure that those are contiguous. And okay, here. Okay, let's try that. So type in your 1/2 inch, and it's throwing up an error. And so we'll probably have to make it smaller than half. Come over here, make sure this is curvature, and make sure everything else is fine. Okay. Whoops, it's thinking. I don't know what it's doing. Okay. So if you want, you could try clicking these to see if it, whoops, oh, I got an error. So now it's not going to let me go any further. Okay, so yeah, it's for some reason it's really slowed down. There we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it's not happy with those. So let's cancel this, go back to fillet, click on these lines again. Whoops. Okay, and then sometimes it'll help to angle this to make sure you're, yep, okay, we're good. Okay, so go back to curvature, and then we're going to keep playing with this number until something good happens. Okay, so 1/8 of an inch works. Let's try quarter. Quarter works. Let's keep going until it fails on us. 3/8 works. 0.4. 0.4 does not. Oh, it did. Holy cow. So let's try 1/2 inch. See if we can get out to 1/2 inch. And it's probably not gonna, because it's taking too long to render that. Nope, it's failing there. So let's do 4.49. There it did. Okay, so it did it at excuse me, at 0.4. Oops. No, now it just failed again. Let's try 4.8. It had worked, and then it went. Okay, so 0.48 seems to be okay. So let's hit OK. Now it's still throwing up an error. Yeah, it's not happy with that. Let's try. I don't know why it's not working. See, it keeps throwing up an error, but it creates the contour, but it's still throwing up an error, and then it fails. So I don't know why it does that. This is a very weird program. It's not, I mean, there's so much math going on, and it has to have things just right, whereas Aspire, when you're 3D modeling in Aspire, and that's probably the reason in Aspire that you don't have as much control over the model as you do in a program like this, because it doesn't force you to do things, you know, mathematically correct, whereas this program does. So let's try 0.45. That did not work. 0.4. 0.3. Let's click off of that one again and see. Let's click off of that one again and see. Okay, so 0.3 seems to be working. Let's see if we can push our luck here a little bit. 0.35. 0.4. No, 0.4 does not. Oh, it did. I don't think it's throwing an error up. So let's let's push our luck a little bit further. 0.45. It did not. Okay, so let's go with 0.4. See if that corrects it, and if it's stable. Looks like it's stable. It's not throwing any errors, so that's good enough, because really all we're going to do is take this part here. The outside edge of the guitar, that radius is coming from Aspire, so this is going to be good. This is close enough to 1/2 inch that I'm happy with that. So go ahead and hit OK, and hopefully it'll do it. It's really struggling here, but it looks like that's pretty good. This here is pretty close. I think that's fine though. Let me grab my, this isn't an actual fender, but that should be okay. That should be okay. It's this part right here. And it's on this guitar, it's kind of flat right there, whereas this one radius is going into the other. But it should be all right. But if you wanted this part flatter, it looks pretty good. But if you wanted that part flatter, you could make these radiuses a little smaller, because maybe 1/2 inch is a little too much for the arm contour. So let's correct that, because you can go back into, so if you go down here, this is sort of like a timeline, and this is your first fillet. And if you go to edit feature, you can change that. So let's make that point, let's make that 375. That'd be 3/8. I mean, that's probably good enough. And then you can do the same, it's thinking. And then you can do the same here. This is the fillet from the other side. And you can, let's do, make that 3/8 too. So if you right click over it, hit edit feature. Whoops, what happened? There it goes. And we'll make that 375. So that's 3/8. That should be good. Okay. If you don't have a fast computer, this could be agonizingly slow because there's a lot of mathematics going on here. So, okay, so now we need to curve this piece here. So we're gonna click fillet. We're gonna click on this middle piece, and then we're gonna make that what, maybe half, maybe 1, maybe 1 inch. That's probably good. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. So it's nice and curved. So if you see this now, this is more flat here. So that looks more correct to me. Okay, so there you go. There we go. We created a 3D model. So now, save that if you want it, and it saves it to a folder. It's all online. I don't know if you can save it to your computer. I guess you can save it to your computer, maybe not. But this is all online. So whoops. So we'll go to save, and they give you, I think, 10 slots to save stuff when you're in the free mode. But so let's do strat body with radii. Radii, whatever. Okay, so now you want to export this. I don't think you have to select it, but go to export. So up here where this little file folder is, go to export, and then you want to grab this drop-down box and scroll to STL files, and then this where it says location, if you grab that box, you can specify the directory that you want to export it to. And hit export. Export complete. And then you're done. You're done in Fusion for now until we work on the neck. So now, okay, so then back into Vectric Aspire, and you want to import. Well, first of all, you want to be on the front, you know, the face, and then file, import, component 3D model. Stratocaster, this is your your STL file. And it brings it in all crazy. I don't know why it's not even close to being correct. You want to set your units to inches, and you want to scale millimeter to inches, and you want to go center model, and then you want to click on back, and then that positions it in the correct, you know, correct orientation. And then you hit position import. You want to create both sides, and then you want to import. And then there's your model. There, well, the front of it. There's the back of it. See how nice and smooth that is? So now, okay, so go back to the front, go to 2D view, see how it's not quite lined up with your drawing. So you want to double click on this until you get the crosshairs so you can move it. And you want to move it so that your red edge overlaps just slightly, so that you're not, and you don't need too much. You want it overlapped a little bit, but you don't want to lose any data either. So that should be good. Okay, and then flip over to the back, same thing. It's not quite centered right, so just kind of move that until it's right on that edge. Okay, so now you're good. Go back to the front. So now you want to make a mask for these because you only want that part. of the 3D model. You don't want it to model the whole, it'll screw everything up if you let it model the whole thing. So you're going to come over here, click on the body outline. You want to make sure you're in the drawing tab, and you want to come to offset, and you want offset outward, and probably 1/4 of an inch is fine, and hit offset and close. So now click on this offset. You can put it to its own layer if you want. I don't know what layer I'm on right now. Trim claw, spring, I'm not in the right layer. I already created some layers. I've been working on this tutorial for a while. So I'm going to move it to arm contour mask. And I'm going to change the color of that because I don't want too many. There. Okay, so now you're going to want to highlight that, come over here to Edit Objects, Node Editing Mode. See, and it brings up all the nodes, and then come out maybe from this end, from this line here, you want to come out maybe about there. Right click and hit Cut Vector. And then do the same thing. Come out about this far, right click, Cut Vector. And then click on that portion of it and then delete it because you don't want that. And then come over here to your draw line, make sure it snaps to the end of that, and then snap to the end of that, and then highlight both parts and then hit join, and join, close. So now you have a joined piece. And it moved it to a different layer because I didn't have the right layer selected, so move it back to arm contour mask. Now flip to the back and we're going to do the same thing here. So click on the outline, click on offset, outward, 1/4 inch, click offset, click close, use your edit node, click on that offset, right click right about there, cut vector, right click right about there, cut vector, delete the part you don't want, come over here to draw arc, snap to this end, click on the middle right about there, and then snap to that end. Okay, so now highlight both of those. Whoops, we're not really on that end, are we? There we go. And we are on this one? Yep. Okay. So select both of those, hit join, join, close. Click on it and move to layer, or create a layer if you haven't created it already, to belly contour mask, and then we'll color that in whatever, orange. Oops, why didn't it change? Belly, oh, I grabbed the wrong one, belly contour mask. There it is. That's belly contour. I'm not sure what those are. Let me get rid of those. And this is where the delete empty comes in handy. Okay. So there's your mask for the back. So now, this is, okay, so now we're going to do the radius around the outside. So the radius on the top is 1/2 inch all the way around. It just kind of dead ends here at the neck pocket. So we're going to click on this. We're going to come back on the body outline. We're going to come back over here to offset. We're going to go inwards, and we're going to go 0.5 and click offset. So you see that now there's an offset in there. So let's move to layer, new layer, body, let's see, body radius offset. Okay. And we're going to want to copy that to, actually we'll wait to copy it because we'll do our radius first. So you want to come over here to create vectors, draw a circle. You want a radius, 0.5 inches, and then just click. And you've created a 1/2 inch radius circle. Close that. Use your node editing tool again. You want basically this arc here going from top left to bottom right. So you want to click here, cut vector, click here, cut vector, delete that portion. So now you have a 1/2 inch radius. And so now move that to, click on it, move to layer, body offset, radius offset. So now grab this, shift and that, copy to other side, because you're going to need it on both sides. But we have to do some editing on the back first. Okay, so let's do that first. Let's do that editing on the back. So see how this, so basically what happens here, if you look at your PDF of the schematic, that really complicated drawing, and you zoom in a little bit, you'll see this X and this X. Well, from here to here, the radius on this part of the neck pocket on the back is 1/8 of an inch radius. See, 1/8 of an inch radius from X to X at neck pocket. And it actually tapers from the 1/2 inch radius down to the 1/8 inch radius, comes all the way around, and then tapers back up from the 1/8 inch radius to the 1/2 inch radius. So this is where things get fun in Vectric, to create that sort of taper. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the body again, go to offset, inward, and we want an 1/8 inch radius. And we're going to move it to layer 1/8 inch radius. Okay, so that starts right about here, and it goes to right about here. So that 1/8 inch radius, you want to come back over here to edit node, and you want to cut right about there. And then over here, you want to do the same thing, maybe cut right over, give it some extra. So now grab that, delete it, so we just need this part here. So now on the inner radius that you had created before, we're going to want to cut, well, we can cut right at the end here and cut this right about here. And so get rid of this inner one there. Okay, so now you've got all these points though. This is kind of messy. So let's get rid of some of this stuff. If you sweep across with the select tool, whoops. So you can delete points by hitting D, because you don't need all these points. But we still want an arc, so we're going to have to, probably going to have to redraw that. So why don't we do that? Why don't we redraw that? We'll cut right here and then delete this, and then we'll redraw. So we'll come up here and draw arc, snap on the end of this, click about here, and click about here. So now we can manipulate that better without all those points. I'm not sure why all those points are there. So let's do the same thing to this. Go back to edit node, cut right about there, delete that, come over here to your arc tool, snap, draw your middle line or point, and draw your end point, and hit close. Oops. If you go to this edit nodes, you can grab that and move it. It's going to want to snap. There. That looks pretty good. So what we're going to do, okay, so now let's do the same thing to this inner line, because there's way too many points on there. Let's cut right about here. So get rid of that. Come back here to arc, snap on that end, go right about there, and then come way out, because we're gonna manipulate these. We're gonna move them around. So then over here, do the same thing. Edit node, come to, I don't know, right about there. Cut vector, delete that off, and then draw your arc. Okay. Okay, so now these are sweeping this radius, and actually that should be mirrored. Flip horizontal, there we go. So that's our 1/2 inch radius. So now this is where we want to blend these two radii together. So we're going to come back to this edit nodes, and we're going to grab this, and we're going to kind of move it till it sort of looks like that. It's going to taper out. And then we're going to click this, and we're going to move it so that tapers out, but then we're going to bring this arc, the middle of the arc, back. And we want to kind of taper. See how we're tapering? We're kind of making it so these arcs are going to sort of blend together. But you don't want your 1/2 inch arc to, you know, cut into here, because that'll mess up your 1/8 inch there. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so then the same thing over here. This one we'll do the 1/8 inch, or the 1/4 or 1/2 inch first. And then we'll do the same thing with this. Bring that arc. All right, we'll see how that works. Okay, so now you need to create a, okay, so these aren't, go back to edit mode, select mode, click here, hold shift, click here, and then join those together. And then move it to the layer that you created, which was 1/8 inch radius. And then same thing here, click on that, shift, click that, shift, click that, and then join, because you want all those to be on the same. And then click on the whole thing, and then move to body radius offset, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is your 1/2 inch radius. And so now we want to make an 1/8 inch. So we come over here to create vectors, draw a circle, radius 1.25, create, and then just click to make the circle. Hit close, and then do the same thing here as you did to the big circle. Node editing, right click over that, cut vector, right click over that node, cut vector, and then you're left with an 1/8 inch radius. And we want to move that to layer 1/8 inch radius. Okay, so now here's where the fun begins. I said that already. Oops, there's a extra circle there. So now tool paths. So let's stop this video here because this is already almost an hour. So we'll stop this video here, and the next video will be tool paths. So this is our 3D model. Next will be tool paths. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in part 3.